That day, a woman came to Abu to get some work done. Abu's eyes fell on her, who was looking at people with her beauty and youth. My Abu was completely captivated by her beauty. He did not think that he also had a young daughter at home. He is the father of 2 children. But when love started to take hold, nothing could be seen. That woman started to captivate my Abu with her love. And then after this continued, it reached the point of marriage, that he should marry this woman. Bring her home. My mother was shocked after seeing all this. What was happening? I ran and shook Abu hard by his shoulders and asked Abu what was all this. He said, "Look, your other mother has come. Come forward and love her." I am like someone who has stabbed me in the heart. I shouted, "Abba, what have you done?" He should have been worried about his wife and children. How can you do this to us? I kept saying all this, but my father pushed me and took this woman named Shazia to the room. I went to my mother, who was already suffering from a heart condition. Overwhelmed with grief, I fell on the floor. I ran and called Ahmed and took my mother to the hospital. I couldn't believe what had happened. After a few days, my mother recovered and we took her home, but during this time, my father did not come to the hospital even once to ask about my mother's well-being. We both cried a lot, but who was going to listen? This woman had taken over the entire house from my father. She would make me and my mother do all the housework. And my father did not say anything about it either. She would even beat me if I refused to do any work. Sometimes my mother treated me like a princess, and sometimes I was living a life worse than the servants in my own house. My mother used to fall ill again and again due to tension. And I was also in a very bad situation. My college matriculation was in the valley. My stepmother said that now I am of marriageable age and now I want to stay at home. I begged her a lot and begged her not to send me to college. I will do all the housework for you. Just let me stay with my mother. But no one listened to me. My father was just as he wanted. He did not say anything and left the whole matter in the hands of my stepmother. And while saying that she is also your mother now, your mother will do whatever is best for you. I was not listened to, and she talked to my father and arranged my relationship with someone she knew. I pleaded not with her. I begged her a lot that this relationship was not right for my daughter. My father beat my mother a lot and said that if I do not get married here, these people will kill me too. My mother told me to have a son for my life. Maybe you will get out of this torment. But what did she know that this pain would be many times more than this pain? I was not willing to marry him, but I was convinced by threats. The man I married was very rich. He had a house, a car, everything. Once I was surprised to see him. But I thought maybe my luck had turned good. But there was one thing. He was not a boy, he was like a man. He must have been 30 years old at that time. But he was very good to me. He loved me very much. And I myself was surprised many times that I had found such a loving and caring husband. I started to enjoy life. A month after marriage, I came to know that I was going to become a mother. My husband was very happy. Now he had started taking care of me more than before. He was very careful about my food and drink. I was very happy. I had forgotten all the previous sorrows of my life. It seemed that I had found the real happiness of life now. 9 months passed and I was taken to the hospital. My health was quite bad. My husband reassured me that everything would be fine. I should not worry. Before starting my operation, I was given an anesthetic injection, after which I was unconscious for 5 hours. When I regained consciousness after 5 hours, I saw that I was at my house. And my husband was standing next to me crying. When I asked him the reason and asked where our baby was, he started crying even louder. I was about to give up. I still asked where our child Asan was. So he came to me and said that Allah had taken him away from us. I could not believe how this could happen. Until the last moment. My child was completely healthy in my womb. How could this happen? My husband picked me up and gave me water to drink. I told him that if I see my child once, I will not be able to rest, but he said that he must have buried him in the cemetery. I shouted, "Why did you do this?" So they said that you could not see. That is why I came to bury him. I kept crying. I was in a state of shock for many days. My husband explained to me a lot and assured me that next time Allah will definitely give us children. Many days passed and I understood now. My husband's love for me did not decrease. He loved me very much. After a few months, I became hopeful again. I prayed a lot to Allah, asking that this time Allah would give me the blessing of children. He would not take away my happiness from me. In the same way, 9 months passed again. And then in the same way I was taken to the hospital. In the same way, I was made unconscious. The same scene played out again. When I opened my eyes, I was at my house. This time too, my husband had the same dramas. And he told me that my child had died. And he was burying him. I cried, "Why is this happening to me? Why don't you show me my child?" So Asan said, "I love you very much. I don't want you to go through any pain. That's why I came to bury that child too. You would have died anyway." I immediately fell down in prostration before Allah and fainted from such behavior. Then my husband explained to me in the same way. I was also surprised that even after I did not give birth to a child, he still loved me the same. If there had been any other man in his place, he would have left me by now, but it was strange. But during this time I noticed one thing, that only my stepmother came to meet me. My father never came to ask about my well-being, nor did my mother. And one thing that surprised me even more was that whenever my stepmother came to meet me, she would sit less with me than with my husband. And when she did, my husband would send me out of the room on an excuse and both of them would talk slowly for a long time. I tried to listen many times but could not hear. Well, time was passing by. But a doubt had settled in my heart. I was not able to do anything. But I was watching all these things carefully, that something was going wrong with me. I was worried but silent. Time was passing by so quickly. My marriage was about to be 2 years old. For the third time, Allah blessed me with this happiness. This time I had decided in my heart that this time I would not let anything happen to my child. No one can take my child away from me now. This time I was very careful. I would get my tests done again and again, in which the child was completely fine. I was at peace. But I had prayed a lot to Allah that this time I would get my child. I had begged a lot. Only a mother can know the grief of losing a child. One would be when Allah does not give me a child. A person can still bear that pain. But there can be no greater grief than when a child is taken away. A mother carries the child in her womb for 9 months and raises it. She suffers a lot for it. But 9 months later she heard that she had given birth to a dead child. And even more sad, that she could not see her child. And she heard that he had been buried. Can anyone be above this grief? I was getting tired of these thoughts. And I kept crying that this was a game of bad luck or someone was doing this to me deliberately. I could not understand. Why was this happening to me? In these 9 months I was very careful. In this way, my husband would take me to the hospital. I had just come to this ward when the same nurse who had delivered me last time was there with me. My husband would get medicine from outside. That nurse started asking me about my son. She said that your son must have grown up quite a bit now. I was surprised by what she said. I held her hand and asked if I had given birth to a live child. So she also got scared and said, "Ma'am, your son was born and he was alive." I would have asked something else before that. My husband was in the ward and I let go of that nurse's hand, but my doubt was turning into certainty that something was going wrong. Similarly, I was made unconscious again. 5 hours later, when I opened my eyes, I was at my house. It was the same as always, my husband crying and saying that our child had died again this time. But this time I didn't react because I knew that my child was alive. But now I had to prove it. I told Asan that I wanted to sleep for a while. Saying this, I took the side and closed my eyes. After a while, my stepmother had also come. Asan had taken her and went to another room. I had already put my mobile on recording in that room when I got up on the pretext of going to the bathroom. I myself was now lying here waiting that today the truth would come out. My husband and my mother kept talking. When she started to leave, Asan would drop her off at the gate. I ran and picked up my phone and quickly went to the bathroom, and then I heard everything they said. After listening, the ground beneath my feet was shaking that a father could do this, and even more importantly, he had betrayed all of us. What I heard was this: "Asan, how much did the child cost this time?" Asan said that last time it was only 2 lakhs, last time it was 3 lakhs. This time it was less. No one was paying more. Shazia said, "Come on, it's okay. Next time you will get more." "Shazia, you have already signed the house papers?" Asan asked impatiently. "Shazia, this old man is going to go straight upstairs. That's why I will quickly register that house in my name so that I can come to you. By then, you two should divorce him or kill him." Asan said, "Yes, I will do the same now. You just register the house in your name quickly." After hearing all this, I started worrying not about myself but about my parents. I quickly called the police and told them the whole story. In a short time, the police reached our house. Asan's face turned pale. I quickly gave the recording to the police. Before the police catch him, he will run away. And I also told my stepmother from here before the police caught her, and she also ran away from home. At that time my father's eyes opened when I showed him the evidence. And at that time my father apologized to my mother in front of everyone and also to me. But what could have happened at that time? My mother's life was ruined. The police told that people like gangs rob people like this. It was a blessing that our house was saved. The police assured that they would find my children and catch this gang too. After a few days, the news came that both of them would be victims of a car accident. And their bodies, which had been badly damaged by the animals of the forest, are rotting here. How well Allah has avenged me. These people could hide from the world but not from Allah. So this is the end of such people.